What's shaking YouTube nights? Welcome to Lords of the Lombox. Presents the CovrPrice Top Shakers of the Week. Running a little bit early today because your boys got tickets to see Shang-Chi at 7 p.m. So I figure I can do this for an hour. I got an AMC thing, so I already got my seats picked out. So we're going to rock this. Shout out to everybody in the live chat and Mrs. Heim holding down with the wrench. My man Matt DeVoe in there. There are some really cool books on this list. You may get 1 for 10, maybe
two easy.
Two for 10, yeah.
Maybe
but in
2.
the grade, that's another question.
Yeah, that's a whole nother question.
That's on other question. But hey, we'll make it easy for you guys. You don't have to have that grade, right?
Yeah.
You know, because Matt has picked out some goodies for this one. Since it's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, and first one in the live chat gets to request the music they want. So we got some Freestyle Friday. Let's drop this in while you guys congregate, man. Let's do this. All right, shout out to DJ Too Fresh for the old school freestyle mix for your Freestyle Friday, one day early. It is Friday in other parts of the world. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Shout out to Jack. What's up, Jack? What's going on?
Man, excited. I'm just living here jealous of what you got going on tonight. That's all.
I got Shang-Chi tickets at 7 p.m. in an AMC Dolby Prime Theater. And it's the only seats left are in like the front row. If you want to enjoy a movie, do not sit in the front row. You'll be going like that. I plan on seeing it again on IMAX this weekend too, so I can get so I heard it's really good in IMAX. Speaking of IMAX, JB, what's up? What's the good word?
What is the good word? The good word, my friends, is God is great. We got the news in writing officially that post my wife's surgery, there is no more cancer in her, and all I can say is thank God. Thank God all the prayers have been answered. My channel's coming back. I'm ready to come back. I want to collaborate with people. I'll be talking about that later. And wait till you see tonight's list. It is fire. And I'm pumped up because I actually got one of the books.
Awesome. That is great news. Congrats to your wife for the long fight that she's been through. We've all had somebody that we've known that has vital cancer, and it's no joke, man. It is no joke. I should have played DJ Lazy Boy for you since he's a cancer survivor. But next Thursday, you will get DJ Lazy Boy, who's a cancer survivor, who's a DJ. But Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Welcome to the Cover Price Top 10s. This show is sponsored by our friends over at CoverPrice.com. Go sign up for $6.99 a month to get your full price guides, collections, and trends, including the top 10 lists, daily movers list, and this list, the daily shakers list. The show is also sponsored by our friends at KRSComics.com. Use discount code of LOTLB for 15. You notice I'm not talking really fast. I need to get out of here. Discount code of LOTLB to get 15% off any KRS Comics exclusives and anything in the KRS pull box. Dropping Friday. You know, you got to have Miles with some cornrows. Look at that. Mike Mayhew and an ASM 300 homage. This drops Friday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. You guys know how people are about ASM 300 homages, so make sure you check that out. That's pretty dope, man. I'm digging the costume and Miles with the cornrows, man. Very cool. So that is Miles Morales number 30. That's going to be dropping on KRS Comics on Friday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. So make sure you head on over there and use your discount code. And without further ado, let's get right to the Shakers list, boys and girls. What do we got starting off? Number 1. Everybody should have this one in their collection, right?
All right. First up, we've got Batman Harley Quinn. Originally published in 1999 from DC Comics, and until this week's new high sale of $970 for a 9.8, this first appearance of Harley Quinn in DC continuity was greatly undervalued. With her first appearance in Batman Adventures number 12 selling in 9.8 for well over $2,000, her first in continuity appearance is and should be a pretty big book. However, almost all previous sales for 9.8 copies sold for a rear $400. With such an iconic Alex Ross cover and a key issue, this is definitely not flying under the radar anymore. If your LCS has cheap copies on their wall, now's a great time to pick one up.
I swear to God, this is one of those books, if you read it, it's no longer a 9.8. Because the way you would have to open up to just like the pages by like 3 inches, because it's such a hard stock. If you were to read it like a normal person, it's no longer a 9.8. You know what I mean? For those who have raw copies of this, you guys know what I'm talking about. When this prestige format came out back in 1999, but for the longest time, man, this was the book on everybody's radar. And then, you know, Batman Adventures 12, and there's another book that is another one in her first in like the DC continuity. It's a Batman book. I forgot what it is. So somebody in the live chat can probably tell me what it is. But starting out the list, Batman Harley Quinn. The classic Alex Ross cover from 1999. All right, next up, man, I haven't seen this book in a while.
Yeah, staying with DC Comics here, we got Black Adam, The Dark Age number 1. Again, an Alex Ross variant, 1 in 10, which of course is DC Comics in 2007. And when it comes to Black Adam, there are very few iconic variants for the Shazam villain. We present you with another Alex Ross cover with this 1 in 10 variant. As DC builds their new DCU, we're told that we'll see the first look of this character played by The Rock. As that builds, so does this cover's raw sales from $172 to $200.
Wow.
Did we just start the show with 2 DC books in a row?
Right off the bat,
We
and I love
did. And you know what? They're not ridiculously priced. I mean, relatively for now, I guess for the year 2021, this does not seem to be ridiculously priced. If 172.50 sounds like it was an auction that started at 99 cents or whatever, it doesn't seem to be like a buy it now. But hopefully you got it's in a near mint plus. So there you go. All right. So first 2 out of the list: Black Adam, The Dark Age, issue number 1. Good old Alex Ross, 2 in a row. Well, let's see how many people have this big boy in their list. Because, this is a grail, but, I wouldn't say tons of people have them, but, perhaps not in this grade. What is it?
Well, here you go. Incredible Hulk number 181, originally published in 1974 from Marvel Comics, and we've been waiting for a 9.8 copy of Hulk 181 to sell publicly for almost 6 months, and it finally happened on Comic Link last week. The last public 9.8 sale, according to our records, occurred on March 3rd when it sold for $45,005. Now, falling well short of its record of $59,005 on February 16th. But this week, we finally had a new sale for this book since the prices of comics spiked, and it hit a new record of $86,000. This new record beat out the prior high by $28,005. or just shy of 50%. Outside of that shocking $264,000 sale of that rare CGC 9.8 Marvel Spotlight 5 in June, this puts this first appearance of Wolverine back on top as the most valuable comic book of the Bronze Age. But don't forget, there's a single CGC 9.8 out there. And being the single highest graded copy of one of the most desirable books of all time, there's no telling what it'll sell for if it ever comes up and hits the open market again.
I'd love to know who has that 9.9.
Who's got the
I think there are a ton of people that are sitting on their copies waiting for the official Feige news to drop. You know what I mean? That's going to give it the bump. Because book has always been hot. It's been going up steadily, but once it gets the Feige treatment, boom, it goes through the roof. When it gets officially announced, like the Logan movie and all the Wolverine movies, that moved a little bit, but we're in a brand new uncharted territories now with the way the market is. Imagine now if they were to name an actor and Wolverine coming up in whatever movie in the MCU. Your heads will explode.
Right.
My head exploded when I saw the last one on the list. I can't believe how much that one sold for, but you're gonna have to stick around to find out, boys and girls. Incredible Hulk 181, a 9.2 sold for 14 grand. If you can't get that other one, that sold for 80 grand. So just throw that up there for you. And that's sold back on August 30th. All right, what do we got next? We talked about this book a while ago, and this is the rarest of the rare.
Yeah, this is a tough book. We're talking about Invincible Iron Man #1, the Elizabeth Torque Amalgam Comics exclusive from Marvel in 2016. As interest in Riri Williams was ramping up earlier this year, we brought this Elizabeth Torque variant to your attention. It hit an impressive $700 for a raw copy, and we haven't seen a raw sale since that time. By the time you read this, another copy will have sold off eBay for at least $800. We also just had a CGC 9.8 copy go for an all-time high sale of $2,450 on August 26th. But why? Sometimes books get a lot of hype for their value increases to irrational highs because no one stopped to ask why. So here we go. The Invincible Iron Man series is the first solo series for Riri Williams. While she is featured on various covers in the Ironheart armor with the Ironheart name, she actually receives the name in Tony Stark AI in issue number 3 of the series. This variant features Riri having coffee with the owners of Amalgam Comics and Coffee owner Ariel Johnson. It's a heartwarming cover combining the comic world and the real world. However, there's no Ironheart name, and there's no first look in the costume like Captain Marvel's 17-second print. Right now, you may be yelling scarcity. You'd be correct. On that front, as this book was limited to 1,000 copies, Marvel made an exception on their standard 3,000, 1,500, 1,000 variant cover format, in this case, confirmed by the retailer directly to CovrPrice. But there are other variants with low print runs as well. The second print has an unknown number of initial sales, but likely 2,000 or less. The Artgerm Copic variant was limited to 1,500, and the inked line art version has less than that. Actual numbers not advertised by the retailer Legacy. It states it to be the lowest print run of its Artgerm variants. Those Artgerm books are going for less than $20, and they actually have Riri from the torso up in the Ironheart armor. Why the discrepancy? Could it be Artgerm fatigue or maybe simply store incentive fatigue, especially with the triplicate covers that merely shift the color tone? Either way, when one becomes such a powerhouse like the Amalgam variant, it's always worth taking into account factors that go into a good variant spec. Scarcity, cover art quality, key cover art, and on-screen pertinence to see what other investment opportunities there might be.
And that's a great note by Matt, that it's a perfect storm. Scarcity, really good cover art. If you look at the artwork on this and the faces that are drawn, and if I remember correctly, Amalgam was an actual coffee shop / comic book store.
Yeah,
made this exclusive, which makes it even cooler, right? I mean, think about, a comic shop and coffee shop. You can go in there, have a cup of coffee, drink your comics or whatever. And Elizabeth Torque, the art on this is awesome. And plus now, as we looked on the cover price top 10, it's, and that thing about art germ, I think a couple of years ago, there was art germ fatigue when he first came out. And it's almost like, I don't know, victim of your own success, because you started seeing art germ variants everywhere. Then you started seeing art germ regular covers everywhere, but good for the artist, because you know what, the artist is getting regular work. You know what I mean? But but as scarcity, as collectors for things that are scarce, we're like yelling at, I wish it would do less. Hey man, let the man get paid. He's got a regular gig. You know how hard it is for artists to get a regular gig on an ongoing comic. You know what I mean? So kudos.
I think one of the things that Matt mentioned that I'll say to you that I think is like one of the strongest points that really stands out that could be the determining factors, where he mentions kind of like the outside of their element, combining the real world and the comics. That you think back to that the cover that had it was for, I think, Outlawed, that had like Miles and I think Kamala Khan kind of like out of their costumes that did really well in the secondary market. It was like a 1 in 50 and it was going for several $100s. I think that these covers that are kind of like differentiate themselves from the pack, where they don't show that typical superhero scene, are starting to like really resonate with the buying community, because I think you just don't see them as often, and it kind of humanizes the character.
Yeah, and I mean, how cool is that the owner of the coffee shop that's her on the cover with the blonde locks. Speaking of which, I don't want to toot my own horn, but in Mikey Sutton's Dreamwalker comic, my likeness will be used as an evil sorcerer on the inside the art.
Nice.
So there you go. Because he goes, send me a headshot, and I sent him one of me wearing the cloak of levitation. All right, so who knows? Maybe it'll blow up, but it's coming out in December. We got a Natalie Sanders variant for it too. But anyway, we're talking about the cover price shakers. The Invincible Iron Man, the Elizabeth Torque Amalgam Comics exclusive, limited to 1,000. Way to go, Amalgam Comics and Coffee. All right, what do we got next?
All right, next up, we've got Marvel Superhero Secret Wars #1, originally published in 1984 from Marvel Comics. All of our favorite Marvel heroes and villains are gathered together in the first of this 12-issue series, and issue 1 finds them unaware of their situation, stuck in a giant construct in outer space. A bright light appears as the Beyonder reveals himself, telling all they must battle, heroes versus villains, with the winners getting anything they desire. Well, villains being villains, bicker amongst themselves, with Galactus and Doctor Doom refusing to cooperate. This results in Beyonder showing them who's boss. Iron Man and a group of the heroes sense the impending confrontation and ready themselves for battle. To be continued in issue 2. Now, one of the more interesting aspects of this issue is this blue Galactus error variant that people talk about. I actually found one. Now, it's hard to know the ratio of these error copies, but it's somewhere along the lines of 1 in 10. Along with the blue and white Air Galactus, there's also a red The Thing and a fiery red explosion, both instead of being orange. Now, it seems these error variants are attributed to no magenta plates used in the printing process. Instead of magenta, was printed on a separate set of yellow plates, hence all yellow areas are red, and all pure magenta areas have no color at all, the color of the white paper. As for recent sales, Doctor Doom and Galactus both factor into this comic more than any other Marvel villains, which might account for the recent bump. With all the rumors of a potential Secret Wars storyline in the MCU. Now, although unknown in recent record high raw sale, whether it was a variant or not, it did hit $153, and the person graded it a near mint minus. With other raw selling for about $60 to $70, up from an average of $30 just a few weeks ago. So, we also saw many CGC 9.8 sales in the range of $700. Recognize that grading companies don't even recognize the blue Galactus error on their labels, but this might change with enough people pointing out this on their submissions, which I did, because now it's an option as a variant on CGC submissions. Now, the error variant occurs in both the direct and newsstands, so be sure to check your copies. I'm glad I checked mine. What do you guys got?
I need to look inside to see if I have blue Galactus, but that's a great bit of advice. If you have a comic that is an obscure first appearance, or maybe an obscure first, or you found an error in it, when you submit to CDC, make sure you put that in your notes so that hopefully that they will note it, right? Because, you know, eventually more and more people point it out to them, and then they'll change the labels. We all know it. They've done it forever now, changing first appearances, cameos, whatever. They're not perfect. You know, they typically, the graders aren't looking for the different colors of Galactus when they were opening this up. You know what I'm saying? They're looking more for the grades and,
Right.
you know, and I mean, you know, it's interesting what they talk about the color palettes. If you think about why the Hulk was originally gray, is because it was either cheaper to make him gray or it was easier to make him gray than green back in the early the olden days of printing comic books. So on the first appearance of the Hulk, he was gray, and you know, eventually he turned green because I guess it was easier to make green, or it was cheaper to make green at that point. But gray, apparently, you know, if you think about black and white, black and gray, they're all the same shades of everything. So you know, it puts into the whole process. So. And it's kind of amazing that this in a 9.8 hit $700 because this is I would imagine this is a gigantic print run, one of the biggest crossovers in Marvel history, right? If you think about it. Before this, it was Contest of the Champions where you saw this amount of heroes in Marvel Universe crossover. If I remember, I know Contest of Champions was the first ever miniseries, but then I don't think they ever had one where it was just a giant crossover like Secret Wars was, and it ran 12 issues. So there you go, man.
Secret Wars branched out into, you know, stories in
there was a bunch of tie-ins,
lines. Yeah, there was tie-ins.
Yeah. And it was toys that were based on it. You know, there's that famous Jim Shooter article, you know, interview that he's been telling the story for years now about how, you know, they didn't know how to make the characters, and they were like, you know, hey, sign the rights off because you want to do Secret Wars movie. And he was like, look, I'm an editor, I know what it is. And you know, he was just like, just take the money and run with it, you know. And he's been telling this story at cons, and finally people got him on camera saying it. So I guess that's all it took, even though we kind of been saying it's been coming. But you know, it's like people don't believe until somebody comes down and smack them in the face with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Until somebody actually sees a Secret Wars trailer, they'll be like, oh, I should go buy that book right now. That's probably a good investment if I should go buy that right now. But right now, you know, they're all over the place. But I would also tell you this throughout this entire run, there's some classic covers, and there's also some other first appearances that you might want to look into. Just do your own research. You know, there's some couple of female characters in there that you may want to look at. Spider-Woman and I think it's Volcana or Titania. Titania. Yeah, you know, those are some other great issues in there that
number 3.
Yeah, and then whatever the first, and the Doctor Doom issue is a classic too, just because of the cover, I do believe. But anyway, all right, so we go from very, very high print run to good Lord, I've never heard of it.
That's right. We're keeping up this trend from week to week here. We're talking about Naruto #1, the Hollow, limited to 5,000 from Viz Media in 2003. Manga has long been ignored when it comes to significant market values. Their thick, digest-sized book tends to be overlooked by U.S. comic collectors. This is mostly due to being reprinted non-stop. However, when they have an exclusive printing, that's when we should take more notice. For example, this Naruto variant has a hollow cover that is numbered on the cover of 5,000 copies. This variant was released in 2003 alongside other popular Shonen Jump titles in the U.S. to celebrate the first U.S. English release. Now, for comics, 5,000 is a huge variant print run. Yet, that's a number that is easily dried up into collections for this book. Affordable copies rarely show up. And apparently, this week's new high sale of $700 raw is just that, especially when the only listed copies range from 1 to 3K raw. If your LCS has a large manga section, take a look for this one. Chances are good that you might just get lucky and find one.
Yeah, right.
We're starting to see this trend of more people in the manga, anime, and even the game comics that are kind of coming. I mean, we've talked ad nauseum how huge manga is, not let alone anime, right? And it crosses all borders, literally. I mean, you'll see Americans, Europeans, everybody loves anime. I mean, you'll see them doing the famous, what is that anime run of that one character? You know, I forgot where they put their head down and they run. I can't even think about it right now. But I mean, manga has been around forever, and it's interesting to see how it kind of bleeds over in the comics now, especially like when we do the Shakers list and we talk about, like, you know, the Mario comic that's based off of a video game, right? But it's a Japanese company as well. But Japan typically hasn't been like a huge consumer of Western comics, right? Manga is their thing. Just like in China, the Chinese comics have been around forever, and they tell more of a wuxia story, which is kind of fantasy martial arts, which I'm looking forward to seeing in tonight. And when I do my video, I'm going to explain to you guys the difference between Chinese wuxia and what you would consider anime fighting, which in Japanese literary history has never really been there. It's always been about the way of the Bushido and samurai stories. I would say Fist of the North Star is probably the first time when it was really about fighting. If you think, remember Fist of the North Star when it first came out? Uber violent anime that came out, and before that, it was all about Macross. It was all about kaiju, things of that nature. But Fist of the North Star is the first time I can remember. Of course, Street Fighter 2 and the video game really made kind of Japanese fighting games and then anime to follow that really big in Japan. But but prior to that, you never heard of that. But now you see like Naruto, One Punch Man, of course Super Saiyan, whatever what is that one? What is that damn anime with the Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is definitely Chinese. I mean, even though it's made by Japanese, the whole power structures and styles that they fight, it's typically like Chinese, but they made it their own, which is cool. But now you're seeing like all these weird, interesting things. Man, I really hope they do the Last Airbender Netflix series proper. I mean, they announced the cast for it. The cast looks good. Let's just hope the fighting is good. I am one of those grown-ass men that was told by my nieces and nephews I need to watch The Last Airbender, and I absolutely fell in love with it, man. The series, and then I even like the follow-up, Korra. Such great animation and storytelling, man. And then when M. Night Shyamalan did the movie, I felt like one of the kids that was a fan of The Last Airbender. I was just like, this is not what I signed up for, but there you go. Naruto, number 1, the Holo variant limited to 5,000. It's not the first time Viz Media has shown up on here because they don't, they only do that one. Here's one I have never seen in the wild in person ever.
Super rare. Red She-Hulk issue number 58, the Greg Horn 1 in 50 variant. Originally published in 2012 from Marvel, and we've seen the Hulk, both rage-filled and smart, and we're getting She-Hulk soon. Then there's rumors of General Ross's Red Hulk showing up in future speculated Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers project. But Red She-Hulk, revealed to be Betty Ross, has a long way to go before we see her in the MCU. However, this Greg Horn 1 in 50 variant is probably one of the most, if not the most, coveted variant for the Red She-Hulk run. This week, a CGC 9.6 sold for $505, which is catching up to its highest sale, which we tracked at $625 back in 2018. This is one variant that just doesn't show up very often. It's sick too. Look at that. Gentlemen, what's your thoughts on a Red She-Hulk?
I'm more partial. I always talk about the two Gregs when it comes to high racial variants: Greg Land and Greg Horn. But Greg Land has a very specific style. You may even say he copies, but everybody uses a reference when they do art, right? But Greg Horn is definitely an artist, and we were just talking about it. He doesn't flood the market with his variants, right? It's not like hey, what Greg Horn variant is this month? Well, it's like which Pete Momoko variant is this month? Which Arjun variant is this month? But this one, I've never seen this in person, to be honest with you. Like on a wall book or anywhere, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, if you think about it, you're like Red She-Hulk 58, why not? But if you think about it, who the hell was ordering that high of a ratio
of this
to get you know what I'm saying? I mean, and in 2012, I don't know what the ordering may have been. Maybe Gabe, 90 Loves Comics, who works for Torpedo Comics, can explain. But back in 2012, I don't know if it was they had to order 50 this to get the ratio, or was it because in some years Marvel made you order a totally different book that had nothing to do with the variant.
Back when they did do that.
Yeah, so in 2012, it could have been 50 of some other random book just so you can get this one. So
I believe there's the Scotty Young variant for this issue as well.
Oh, Scotty Young. That's another guy that's been saturated. Right when Scotty Young first came out, it was like, everybody loves Scotty Young. And then it was like, man, now he's all over the place. So Red Hulk, Red She-Hulk, number 58. The Greg Horn 1 in 50 from 2012. I love this book, by the way. This brings back nostalgia to me from indie comics.
Yeah, this one for me takes me back to the days when Matt and myself were back in the G Plus era. Because this was
a shout out to Google Plus, rest in peace.
Right, this was a popular book with that community. We're talking about Scud, the Disposable Assassin, #1 from Fireman Press in 1994. And if you're a fan of Rick and Morty, then Scud is technically its creative cousin. Creator Rob Schraub was both roommates and a longtime writing partner of Rick and Morty co-creator Dan Harmon. Dan has directed. Dan has directed episodes of Community, Parks and Recreation, and many other high-profile comedy shows. However, his first big creation was Scud, which Dan Harmon also wrote a few issues of, and has been a growing indie title, hitting a new high sale of $510 for a 9.8. When it comes to Rick and Morty, Scud was there at the beginning when Justin Roiland called them Doc and Marty. In fact, Roiland created a very early Scud commercial featuring those early Rick and Morty prototypes. The question is, will we ever see Scud in some content capacity?
You know what? This gives me, this is like, there's a very specific time. And there's another book on this list that is going to, book ends where the beginning and end of indie comics was, right around the mid 80s all the way to like the mid 90s. If you think about indie comics, Scud, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Tick, Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters, all these other ones, and kind of Image came along and kind of killed all these little indie publishers, and everybody can't big. Even Valiant became a big publisher in 1994. If you think about it, and indie books kind of became hard to find. But if you remember 1994. Everything indie was cool. Indie movies like Clerks, Swingers, and indie music, right? If you think about it, it used to be called college radio, and then it morphed into what we now would be considered indie music, right? If you think about REM as a band, it was the college radio. Basically, college radio is if you were to turn your radio band all the way to as far left as you can go into the 80s, that was where that was where your college radio station, like 89.9 or 90.1, right along those lines. And so I mean, it was like just the whole era to me is just I wax nostalgia because that's just to me independent indie everything, right? Indie comics, indie music, indie movies, and in 1994 was almost, it was right at the height, and then it started to kind of die down after that. But Scud is one of those that are right up there with all those kind of really cool, like The Tick I always think about too. So there you go. Next one up on the list should not be a surprise to you since we talked about it on last week's show. Anytime news drops, you got to go and look for those comics, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Next up, we've got Star Slayer #2, originally published in 1982 from Pacific Comics. Now, with the recent announcement of the on-screen resurrection of the Rocketeer franchise through Disney Plus, the first appearance of Rocketeer in Star Slayer #2 is blasting off. With a Rocketeer backup story and a sweet David Stevens full back cover spread, it's no wonder this is the Rocketeer book to grab. Now, Star Slayer #2 was historically a sub $200 range in CGC 9.8 condition, but started to rise mid-March 2021. 2 CGC 9.8 copies just sold on August 30th for all-time highs of $500 and $565. There are currently 522 universal copies on the CGC census, with 1 copy in 9.9, 206 in 9.8, and 152 in 9.6. That's a massive 68.8% of the universal copies at 9.6 plus. That's some serious Rocketeer fans grabbed and stashed their Star Slayer 2 copies, keeping them in pristine conditions. Now, be on the lookout for the first appearance of the Rocketeer, because with the off-brand publisher and series, this book has Longbox Dive written all over it. Just a heads up. Some other fun Rocketeer books include Star Slayer #3, which has a Rocketeer backup story, and Amazing Heroes issue #37, which has an early Rocketeer appearance and an interview with Rocketeer creator Dave Stevens.
I have a Rocketeer #1 3D. In other words, it comes with 3D glasses, and I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought it just because of that. And of course, rest in peace, Dave Stevens. Great artist. One of the guys who drew women beautifully. If you look at some of the Dave Stevens earlier stuff, but this is like Star Slayer now has 2 appearances that are being developed. Isn't Grimjack's first appearance in a Star Slayer book as well? I'm trying to remember that, but. Well, Rocketeer, I think I was talking about this on Letters and Longbox with Mikey Sutton, how Rocketeer is one of the greatest movies when I was a kid growing up. Not because Jennifer Connelly was absolutely gorgeous, but it was the whole vibe. And also Joe Johnston as the director, who also directed Captain America, The First Avenger. Perfect person to do Captain America, The First Avenger, if you saw him do the Rocketeer. It's very, even if it was done in, I believe, the 80s, but it has like a 40s World War II vibe to it, and it just nailed it, right? I mean, absolutely love it. One of my favorite. I mean, you got to think, the pickings were slim when the Rocketeer movie came out for what we would consider superhero films, right? I mean, so when it came out, it was pretty cool. It was, guy with a jetpack trying to fight Nazis to get his girl back. So, man, and now it looks like Disney, I guess, owns the rights. I don't know if they never relinquished the rights for it. I think the Disney film, I'm trying to remember who did it, but it's the perfect place to put it somewhere like that now. I mean, imagine them putting Rocketeer into the MCU. That would take this book to all new levels. I'm not saying it is, but if they're all under the same umbrella, why not have Rocketeer show up in, I don't know, just do like a Captain America prequel movie and Captain America's fighting Nazis, and next thing you know, Rocketeer comes flying by. So, but
I think it's really just a sign of the healthy comic market too, where it's like this is kind of a second tier type of like option news. It's nostalgic for a lot of us that kind of grew up on the character, but it's exciting to see the quick numbers that it jumped to, because I think it's really indicative of the growing comic market.
Yeah, and I also think the studio power behind it, because it's going to be on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
And they haven't missed yet.
No,
you can tell they have a certain sheen to them, meaning they're putting money into it. Where you could say Netflix original, and you're like, oh boy, let me roll the dice, man. Is it going to be like The Witcher level, or am I going to get like the Warrior Nun Ariella version? You know what I'm saying? There's different levels of there was a Warrior Nun or Ariella series on Netflix. It got canceled after 1 season, but there's levels to
everything's canceled after 1 season.
V War. There's all kinds of great comics that just didn't translate. And you're right. It's all about the budget. Is Netflix really behind it, or is it something they're just letting a third-party production company kind of put together, and it's not an agenda item for them?
Yeah, what bummed me out was Jupiter's Legacy, man. As somebody who's a Mark Millar a fanboy, I love everything Mark Millar does, and I really wanted to see a season 2 of Jupiter's Legacy, but apparently
Super Crooks is going to bring them back. I keep telling you, we got to be positive. Super Crooks. All right.
Well, they said it's part of the world, but I want to see the story that tells what happens to the Utopian. I don't want to give it away for those who've read the comics, but but yeah, it's a great story, man, and very dark too. But Star Slayer issue #2 from good old Pacific Comics, from April 1982. This last book is going to blow your freaking minds on what it's sold for. Are you guys ready?
That's right. We're talking indie comics, but we can just shut down the indie comic talk now, because we're talking TMNT #1 from Mirage 1984. And let's just keep it quick. A CGC 9/8 copy sold for a massive new high of $245,000 on Comic Connect this week. That obliterates the last 9.8 sale that we tracked back in 2019, when it sold for $90K. So yeah, cowabunga indeed.
90K is even mind-boggling to me, but then to go from 90,000 to 245,000, and pure nostalgia. This Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is almost bulletproof. It doesn't matter if there's a movie for it, if there's a show for it, or whatever.
It's just $250,000, man.
$250,000.
Crazy.
But I'm with it though. Like I see every day, working for a company where they're involved in sports cards and things, and you look at the prices of even modern athletes. I look at this book and think, how many of us grew up with Ninja Turtles? Like, it's such a synonymous brand, and it's one of the few that, like, let's be like, everybody knows how I feel about G.I. Joe, but then that brand fell off for a long time, and they're starting to resurrect and try to build back. But Transformers is another one. Like, it's not. Turtles has stayed strong since its inception.
Do you think that you know that the term "the rising tide" is going to take all the boats with it? Do you think that this new high is going to take all grades of this in it? You know, then we're going to see record breaker after record breaker coming up,
especially the first
the first was it like 4 issues, I think, because I think the first 4 issues or 5 issues are the ones that are black and white and a larger format, I believe. Correct. After that, they went to a smaller comic book size. But if you remember these are really odd shaped. They're like half magazine, half comic book, probably closer to magazine size. And then obviously, there's the other hot ones are the one shot miniseries of all the different characters, like Michelangelo, Donatello, and all those characters. But I mean, even though the movies have been, to be nicely put, underwhelming, because they can't decide what to do with them, right? They're either,
do I want to be adults or do I want to be kids?
Yeah,
do I want to be kids and sell toys, or do I want to go adult?
Yeah, pizza eating cowabunga, or these first issues, which were pretty dark, and then they went to and then they got huge. They got the cartoon. Who hasn't played the 4-player video game, right? Where all 4 of you played the video game. And
now you've got two huge films on the way, though. So like, think about the height that this could hit. You've got an animated film produced and directed by Seth Rogen. You've got a live action film from Colin Jost. Now those are big names. Will we deliver movies that'll be impactful or that'll change, the perception? I don't know, but I think it stands to reason that like this is a book. Like, I don't see any reason for Turtles not to be hot.
Anthony ring up. I totally forgot about that awful Vanilla Ice song that he did for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Oh my God, that was awful.
Oh, when you were a kid, like, you weren't going off to the ninja rap. Come on now.
Oh, no, I wasn't, because I was already old enough. I was already into hip-hop music. I was go ninja, go. Oh my God.
Let me tell you something. Every kid, listen, every kid loved that when I was a kid.
Yeah, but there's a great documentary on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Netflix, but it focuses more on the toys. I think it's the toys that made us, and it talks to both Eastman and Laird. And this is when they kind of had their riff, right? One of them didn't want to sell out, and one of them did, and made a ton of money. They wanted to be more, like we were talking. They wanted to be more independent. So but then they eventually made up. So it was pretty rare back in the day. I wouldn't say back in the day, but at least 10 years ago, to get them both in the same place to sign the same comic book, right? You would never. It's pretty hard to find Eastman and Laird's signatures on one comic.
And Laird doesn't like to travel. He doesn't like to do a lot of like appearances, so his signature is just tough in general.
Yeah. All right, boys and girls, that is the Cover Price Shakers of the week. But don't go anywhere, right? Because we're going to go see what is shaking today, because things can change up, and we'll see.
Every day, man. It changes every day.
Try not to show something that Matt will talk about next week. So shout out to all you guys watching, even though we came a little bit early today.
Let's see how many TiVo has in his collection here.
Let's go straight. There's Cover Price Top 10, dominated by Spider-Man. New releases. Okay, here we go. The Shakers. I need to update mine. I have some of these Iron Mans. Nothing. There's that Teenage Mutant Turtle books. FF1. Look at that.
Good Lord.
A 1.8 for $11,000, man.
For 11.
First appearance of the Fantastic Car. Love the Fantastic Car.
Oh my goodness! Come on.
Walking Dead #1. I just picked one of those up.
Wow,
did you really?
This thing has been. Look at that. Still going strong. Walking Dead #1, 2003, a 9.8 just sold for $3,800. Wow. That seems almost like a bargain nowadays. I mean,
I mean, I picked up a 9.6 for considerably less than that, and I felt like thinking about where the prices were and where the pedestal. We still look at every indie comic and say, is it going to be the next Walking Dead? So I just felt like, for the history of my comic career, that needed to be a book I had.
Yeah, let's look at this. First appearance of Jason Todd, cameo of Killer Croc. Oh, look at that. $1,000 for 9.8. People digging the Jason Todd over on Titans there.
Titans.
Nice.
Titans is super dark. But yeah, man, do you remember when this book was just absolutely hot? Remember first appearance of Star-Lord in magazine format, Marvel Preview presents number 4, 9.4 for $8.98. I remember when this 9.4 used to be like a $1,500, $2,000 book.
And I also remember the day, like right when that Guardians movie got announced, and like you could find that book in like dollar bins. Like there was a period of time where we were grabbing that book for a couple bucks and then like flipping it for $200, thinking we were robbing somebody. And then you look at it now.
Oh man, you ain't kidding me, man. But there you go. Moon Knight every week is hey, look at that. Oh my God, here you go. Here's some nostalgia for you. Silverhawks number 1. Lord. Remember that? Another Marvel got a property of an animated series, made a comic of it. First comic appearance of the Silverhawks team. $8.50 for a 9.9.
Is something going on with that? People love that.
Holy shit, man.
Somebody in the know must know something that is being developed. But the animation for its time I thought was pretty good for Silverhawks, right? I mean, let alone the weird cowboy in outer space without a helmet on playing his guitar. You see him out there in the cover, bottom of the cover. He was the pilot. That's all I remember. Hey, here's a cool book, man. Giant Size Childers. I should actually add this to my collection, actually.
Now, there's a key for some reason. What is it?
Let me add this, man.
Oh, go ahead and add it. Go ahead and add that.
It's a raw, I would say mine is about a 9.4. So we'll add it right there. Boom. Now it's back in my collection.
Damn.
Giant Size Childers featuring The Curse of Dracula, the first appearance of Lilith, daughter of Dracula. I wonder if it's because the video game, it features Lilith. If you haven't seen it, the Midnight Suns video game has a Lilith is the mother of demons version is the but basically the same name. But Lilith is the big baddie for the game Midnight Suns. If that character ever gets their own comic book, man, the hunter that appears.
TiVo, real quick, check out Thunderhouse Designs. Cartoon is coming back for Silverhawks, and it was announced there's toys coming from Super 7. Super 7 is doing these toys, these nostalgic period toys, and they're cool as hell.
That company's a hustler.
Do you think they're hustling, man? That is, they're just getting the nostalgia buttons.
Look at this, more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books. Here's another one. Here's a cool one.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think that that's going to just fire up? Because I feel like there was a real nice spike in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right around when Ronin was breaking out. Then everything got hot again.
Yeah.
And now we've got this record-breaking sale, and everything's going to get hot again.
Yeah. Look at this one. This is issue 21. Somebody tell me if there's some first appearance in here we don't know about. But $616 and 9.8. Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's another one in here. I mean, look at this one. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The first appearance of Leatherhead. For those who had Leatherhead on a 2021 bingo card. Oh, cool. Wraparound cover. This is number 6. $662. So somebody's really digging turtles. Didn't even.
Well, hey, look, we got two turtle movies coming, and I could totally see one of them deciding like we want to have different characters represented.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, this is cool. Look at remember the old Age of Ultron series. Remember that? This is issue number 10. The Joe Quesada black and white wraparound cover. You got a little Angela action on there. The cameo of Angela in the Marvel Universe. $520. I'll tell you another slept-on book, perhaps not by Angela and Spawn collectors, is the Angela miniseries, and there's a Pirate Spawn variant that is sought after. I don't have that one. I have the Angela variant. It's a special variant. It doesn't even have a price on it. But I would say if you're into Angela, look for that one. That one's cool. Hey, I have this one too. Yeah. Ooh, $475. All right. This is one of the weird ones. Was like half the director's cut is half black and white and half color. But here's the regular one. $498 for Raw and Young Avengers #1. I'm surprised this book hasn't really popped yet. I think
I mean, that's December, right? Is that December?
I think after Shang-Chi, they're going to do the full court press on the Eternals, and you're going to see this book start to jump. But 9.4 for $285 for 9.0, 9.8 for $3,800. Wow, look at this one. What is this? That's the UK price variant. Barely. Oh wow, I've never seen the 10 pence
I
variant
actually
before.
have a number 2 in the UK price variant.
137 for raw. I mean, back in the day, if you see 9 pence, you're like, damn it, I wish I had the regular US version. But now it's like people are going all
Right.
out for it. Hey, here's the color version of it. See, this is one of those where, sorry, black and white is cool and everything, but the color one is absolutely gorgeous when you look at
way
this one.
better in color.
Joe Quesada wraparound 1 in 50. 429. Good Lord. I need to go look at my Age of Ultrons. I have a bunch of them.
Maybe
Some
this
Brother
first
Voodoo.
Jessica Cruz somewhere first.
Where is the Green Lanterns? This one is Jessica Cruz, right? Justice League 31. Isn't that Jessica Cruz or what
Educate
is this?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Educate
this is the
me.
first full appearance of Jessica
Look
Cruz
at
right
that.
here. Yeah,
Good call,
So,
anti-hero collectibles.
yeah. Justice League. This is the combo pack. First full appearance of Jessica Cruz. $514 for 9.6. Not even 9.8. It's a 5.6. Holy cow! Of course, Shuri News is blowing up right now. This is always an interesting book. The Young Avengers Dark.
Dark Reign.
Brother Voodoo. I own 2 of them. I don't want to toot my own, but this is interesting.
Yeah,
I rarely ever see this. I rarely ever see this on here. This is the
hell is
Midnight
this?
Suns when they had the Midnight Suns sub label of Marvel. Blade the Vampire Hunter.
That was the 2020 dollar box champion.
All right, hold on. And I was trying to explain to somebody. So Midnight Suns was like supposed to be the adult version, like the After Dark version.
It was just the supernatural heroes.
All right, so it wasn't more adult content. It was just
No, that
more
was Marvel
themed towards-
Knights, is
that
what
was
you're
Marvel
thinking.
Knights.
Yeah, Marvel Knights was considered the more adult level. And if you really want to go further, there was another label. Help me out, Jack. That did like Kick Ass and those. It was Marvel.
Oh yeah. Was it Icon?
Was it called Icon? Yeah,
Yep,
I think Icon, and that was definitely adult. But they
Yeah,
were
that was
actually
like a lot of their creator-owned stuff. Like,
yeah.
still was that Stephen King's? Was the Tower,
Yeah.
Dark Tower?
Yeah, but Kick Ass was under and Kick Ass was
2
under
Luke
that one
Cage
before he
books
went.
on the list. What's
What
up with
the
that?
hell? Look at this. Wow, man. Do you remember this was at the height 1992, man. This is the height of comic book LCS speculating going crazy, man. Unity from Valiant Comics, number 0. The red incentive edition. Valiant had some really interesting things in the 90s to get their incentive variants where you had to mail in coupons, do all kinds of stuff. Remember, like the Harbinger 0 pink issue is the one that comes to mind immediately when I think of like, the mail-ins. You had to cut out like a coupon from different books, mail it into them, and you got the blue cover. And then randomly they would throw in the pink cover of Harbinger 0. So, wow.
Well, also my Valiant fans will know Unity because everything with Valiant is measured pre-Unity or post-Unity, because that is the moment when print runs exploded for Valiant. So if it's pre-Unity, if you find a book that came out before Unity, it's probably low printed and there's a secondary market for it. If it's post-Unity, it's going to be tough.
Damn,
There you
that's
go.
good knowledge, man.
Wow, there's 3 Young Avengers on the Shakers list. Everything but the 9.5.
And you got a couple of Luke Cages on here, man.
Hey, look at this, man. Darkhawk. If you guys didn't pick up your Darkhawks last week, it features a brand new Darkhawk. So,
I got 2 at CGC, baby.
So this is Darkhawk number 1. This is the OG Darkhawk. The Darkhawk that dropped on last Wednesday is a new version of Darkhawk, a new young high school kid who has taken the mantle of Darkhawk. So
They had me Wednesday worrying for that one, buying incentives.
yeah, there was some 1 in 25s, and I got both of them actually, the 1 in 25 and the 1 in 50.
1 in 50. I still need to get the 1 in 50. I got like 3 of the 1 in 25s.
Here we go. Some Riri Williams for you. The Luciano Vecchio of a second print variant. It's pretty clean. I like that. I like the clean lines.
White
on that.
cover, yeah.
That is clean.
$300 for a raw copy. $300 for a raw copy. Holy
Raw
cow! $300 for a raw copy. I don't know.
I saw a dealer who unearthed a stack of those yesterday.
Oh man, go back and get them. Who doesn't remember Danger Girl from our friend J. Scott Campbell?
Oh,
Look at
J.
that.
Scott.
J. Scott Campbell smoking
Early
gun
J.
variant.
Scott.
Look at that. $276.90 only for 9.8, not bad at all. But this was at the height of little sexy girl covers there. If you remember Danger Girl, then Gen 13 also was another one that did a lot of those as well. Don't we get to always talk about.
Let's take a look at that Marvel Point 1. Where's that?
Oh,
at?
you want the Marvel point one? Okay. Here.
Yeah, because that's got to be going crazy.
Where is it?
One more up.
One more up. There we go.
Right there.
Marvel point one. This is the first full appearance of Kamala Khan.
Boom.
340 for a raw comic.
Raw.
Highest known value, $2,000. I mean, the Riri effect has really blown me, especially that I don't know if it would have got much of, because she's in Black Panther 2, really gave it a bump, I think, as opposed to, hey, we all know she's going to be in the Ironheart series, right? I mean, but now that she's going to be kind of like mixed in with the Wakandans, kind of really gave it an extra bump. So,
wait till they actually see her. You know how it is. Once she actually is. When they see
All
her
right.
in the trailer, people go crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Once we see them in costume or live action, then it's just going to go nuts. Just like I just saw record new sale. It was not on the Shakers list yet for special Marvel edition number 15, the first appearance of Shang-Chi. Broke 20K. Broke 20K. I should probably go back and show it, but I won't. But I was looking on CovrPrice today because I own a 9.8, and I was like, let me go see what it up. And the last time I remember, was like the high sale was like 15 grand, and there was another one that posted for 17 grand, and then recently 20 grand on that book. If all the news about the movie is as positive as it is, hopefully there's more room for it to grow. But speaking of which, I gotta go get ready. Go see my movie, man. Any last words, Jack?
No, man, enjoy. You got to let me know if I need to be making a play here, if this is a long-term move. So
yeah,
I need to hear.
I would do a non-spoiler video tomorrow.
Okay,
and I would tell
you
you guys if you should be getting this, if it's a long-term play or not, and without spoiling the movie. Of course, my answer now is yes. But but anyway, JB, any last words?
Yeah, man. Thanks everybody in the live chat for coming out and checking us out on Thursday. Make sure you're back on Tuesday and every Sunday. And if you are not subscribed to the channel, what the hell is going on? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content. Thanks for coming by. And I'm ready to come back on my channel. I'm looking to do some collaborations. Please reach out to me on the IG.
There you go. I thank you guys all for joining us. Hit up the video I did Saturday for our 7,000 subs giveaway contest. And until next time, boys and girls, keep digging in the long because I got to go. I got to get out of here. Bye.
Now let's do this. Rewind, select and come again. Pull up that from the top to the very last. Jump, 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 jump.
Who are you to make their lives bitter in hard bondage? In this you shall know that the Lord is faith. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, do it! We're here! We're back! Word up! Get to the job! You can't get fresher than this. In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 5 greatest heroes. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
When it comes, I won't even notice. Oh, how so? I'll be too busy looking good.
Cater